Today is Saturday, 3/30 of 2013. There's been no change in status. My point of contact meetings with case managers and social workers have not happened. My medical regimen, the doctors have been giving me Plavix, which is causing severe nosebleeds. I feel like I'm hemorrhaging, actually, in my right nostril. I'm losing blood. Plus, I'm not in a good mood right now. I'm tired of being told why I have to have my life ruled by a lie. Essentially, the DeVita Corporation and the Fresenius corporations are telling people outright lies, and the Esrd and iPro are not asking for proof. They're accepting their word. People are hiding things from me. There was a fax transmittal from Queen's Artificial Kidney, and I'll provide that for you in a minute. You're going to have to hold this up to a mirror to get proper image, but you can see this. Now, you'll notice there are 3 pages to this fax. It's called a Form 2728. It's transmitted from facility to facility to transfer patients. And on this form is supposedly the evil deeds that I am accused of doing, that I have had no proper venue to answer these charges. I've been tried and convicted without proper due procedure. It is a conspiracy to commit murder, at the very least. It is an act of negligence, criminal negligence. Now, either somebody's made a terrible mistake or somebody's done something intentionally. Either way, I'm suffering, and it could cost me my life. It is denying me dialysis services and the other services. I'm a cancer survivor. I have cardiac issues. I have feet that must be groomed by my podiatrist. Otherwise, they become quite painful. None of which can be seen to tied to this hospital bed. I cannot begin to undo the damage done by the actions of Queen's Artificial Kidney, and Loretta Anderson, the administrator there, Augustine, the social worker, Willie, one of the administrators, the Fresenius and ESRD networks are in battle with ESRD, has done nothing to vanguard my rights. Housing Works has been very curious, a very curious ally. Danielle has not returned my calls. I'm having my doubts about her as my case manager. I don't mean to disparage the woman, but the one that would always return the calls, one that was always there, has become very reticent of late. I have contacted housing about the threats, about the problems, and I have begun through HASA to try to initiate some type of moving sequence. But the problem is my income. Wherever I go, I'm going to be limited to low income, low aware people who inflict wounds upon themselves and have others exploit those self-inflicted wounds. The police department especially. At this point, I'm trying to correlate all the data that I have had, where they came in my apartment without a search warrant and lied and said I called when I was in distress when actually I was at dialysis at Queen's Artificial Kidney. I am getting proof that they tore up my complaint when I was assaulted, Officers Faduviak and Dvorak. According to Detective Ed Witt at the 114, according to the CCRB, the 61 was destroyed and reassigned another number. According to the Civilian Complaint Review Board, the police act in this manner when they're protecting an informant. What is going on between the man in 5D and the man in 5H who assaulted me, and the man in 5D whom I have this conflict with, who claim to be friends with one another? What's going on between them where the police feel the need to protect an informant who they have identified as a man, CCRB, has identified as a man in 5H? I don't know. All I know is what I'm told. Everybody's passing the buck. Nobody's accepting responsibility. At this point, Dr. Ames has issued proof that he spoke to the Fresenius Corporation, and someone named Nanette, whom I cannot identify, is now telling people on the 2728 that I walked into a place with a gun. And the ESRD and IPRO have so low threshold of standard of proof. Well, if a man walks into a place with a gun, if a man walks into a place with a knife and pulls it upon a doctor, those are serious charges. Where is your proof? They are not asked for proof. I can't take those.
I'm really sorry.
That's okay. You can have them. You're pretty sure you... I'm sorry, I'm just talking to a volunteer. Please give me a minute. No problem. As you can see, there are blood stains on... I have a whole waste paper basket full of stuff like this. Some are drenched in blood. There are some very curious things happening here. My patient rights are constantly being violated. On one hand, you have people who are working hard, trying to do the right thing, who take their job of patient care very seriously. But they're being undone by the actions of DaVita, Fresenius, iPro, ESRD, and Queen's Artificial Kidney. The social workers show a very curious lack of standard in communication. If the 2728 is 3 pages long, why am I only seeing 1 page? And once again, they are not being upfront, open, and honest with me. Carl Ginsberg, the lawyer referred to by the dialysispatientadvocate.com site, managed by Arlene Mullen, who she told me, is a structured limited liability corporation. At this point, I do not want to jettison them, but they are becoming an ineffective ally at best. They're not structured to meet the challenges they say they are trying to meet. The people Arlene has faith in, including Mr. Ginsburg, don't rise to the level of faith. I don't have a law degree. I have a high school diploma. But common sense tells you if someone, under the terms of the law, what they call misrepresentation of fact, if I tell you somebody tells you I had a gun and I didn't, that's fraud. That's misrepresentation of fact. If I violated a weapons policy in order to protect myself, but they told people I threatened somebody, and that's keeping me out of dialysis center. That's a misrepresentation of fact. Once you transmit this information across state lines, it becomes a matter of wire fraud. Now, if I have a high school education, certainly someone with a law degree would be able to get the DeVita Corporation, get the Fresenius Corporation, get Queen's Artificial Kidney into court and make them explain their actions, none of which Mr. Ginsburg has done. I feel that there's something missing there. I do not want to call this man's competency or integrity into question, but the answer begs, why is this not happening? It is a self-evident question that should be answered. I have had more social workers than I've cared to count. Almost too numerous to count. And they all show a decided lack of advocacy. And they know nothing. They try nothing. No one's talked about the Department of Justice. No one's talked about the government agencies, which is the only point, the only way I have to redress this is through the legitimate venue of the courts. And if that's denied me, then my rights as a citizen are being usurped. The last I heard, no one suspended the Constitution, and yet my life is ruled by a lie that suspends my constitutional rights every day. It is threatening my life, and once again, if there is not a conspiracy, it is certainly a consistent series of acts of negligence relative to my rights, and that has not been addressed. Should I fall in this battle to assert my rights as a citizen and restore my health to some functionality where I can become self-reliant, get off the government dole, and become a productive, happy, tax-paying citizen again, I'm trying my best to leave this message to you and hold the people at Fresenius, at DeVita, at Queen's Artificial Kidney, at Esrd, iPro, New York Presbyterian, Elmhurst, and St. Luke's Roosevelt responsible for their lack of action on my behalf. Now, this isn't to say there aren't good people along the way who aren't trying to do the right thing, but people fall into two groups, the unwilling and the unable. And the good people fall into the unable. They want to help, but they can't. A doctor has to do this. A lawyer has to undo this. A court and a judge have to undo this. And those are not being availed to me. Those are part of my due process. Facts are not being presented to me concerning my care. That's a violation of my patient's rights. I've yet to see the patient advocate despite asking. Today is the 30th. I have been asking to see the patient advocate for 5 days. The social worker seems somewhat duplicitous. I am convinced the police are behind this. No one else has this type of reach. I am convinced there are certain politicians behind this. I have contacted my local representatives, so at the very least, in their lack of action, they are culpable. So it's bad structure, it's bad-minded people acting in concert and making use of a bad structure. It attacks those who are least able to defend themselves. According to Ms. Mullen at the dialysisadvocate.com site, it is not uncommon for African American males, those in the lower band of the income wavelength, to be mistreated and have little or no advocacy. This must end if we are truly to live to our promise. Otherwise, the sacrifices made will be in vain.